Good morning.
Morning.
Community Bible Church. Genesis chapter 34. Once again, I feel like I'm inadequate to the task of the subject that we're gonna discuss, and I need your help. We had a nice, beautiful chapter in chapter 33. There was reconciliation, and in the Navajo way of thought, in Navajo we talk about Hojon. What we don't know is Hojon is a very scary place to be, because there's no more up to go. It's just a matter of time before everything falls apart. Boom. So Hojon in the neck action see question Hojon the ba Hojon ne, but it's still in one moment everything could come crashing down. If you live long enough, you know that what's happened, right? So if you're younger than me, pay attention. Things are going smooth. One day sunshine, the next day it's not. The neck ashin shtasho. Daina oba yahaseniki up at Eliyaigi, Ebet Eliyah, Nila, Genesis with Yahigi, chapter 34. Ado Leah, Peche, Dinah, Jacob, Batish Chinigi, Kayat, Astana Keda had ego, Horta, Keda had ego, Horta, Yah, Ako Heba, the Nen Lini, Hamor, with Yabi, Shechem, Ekaya, Donat, Anin, and Lego, Dinah. Je dan nog sneed ado je nenetel kot oba yahaseniki et ego la verse 33 ako Shechem Jacob et set dinak at je dacht bet leed sa ako chike o den chike ayo nego hajoko little chico je yalki ako Shechem beje hemar je chaziko anetish chike Shanadol, Keskosh, Estado, Lishnt, Jacob had set Dinah, ate and net opa Yahaseniki, epish equal Genie, and the Hayek Kehal, get the Hali, then Kade, the Nahas Keko, in the bar, and dished Ishjanizi. Oh, somebody put me on a timer for like 40 minutes, 45 minutes. So I don't drone on 45 minutes. John got that chime that I'll know when to cut it off. Verse 6, Ado Shechem Bejer Hamar Jacob Yitlian dot ich bin Yah Ado Jacob Biyeke Da Yin Nico Dan Kade Nahas Kayako Ik eben Bidnet de adot I yisito bestahal den de hala Israel den betraki bahaki atsit za Jacob et bisniz genez tjezla akot edo adol nichtan akot edo adol nichtan verse 8 akohemor itish kiko anne shiye shikem nset I yisi yitanol net ashode Nanoshka bestado lechbenye banosche Achanta I ghetto ado nitse naha taho nichto intan nichto nichitse naha tahi nichto verse 10 akko nichil keda hot ido di kayakit aniche danosen go keda hot ido inta nta iyosh nichto ado kui na dehi nshuta hoyosh Verse 11, Shechem et Dinah bejet inta belakhe eyitin nich shen ajo pape shuchohat nego aha seta to kos a shite no kediki naha de shlel do gehi ado ayelye a shite no kediki do der shite no ked ko naha de shnel as la ente keta she estado les benye chanol ke verse 13 ako Jacob ye ke e Shechem in the beje Hamor you that all loko you khata zi hala Jacob be ye ke deje daina oba yaseniki achila verse 14 ako ta hodin ni tito ata ne eta do ba nihinesh kijiki nihiteje do ba da do thet eta ne ba danil kingo ba yasen ko nihit ba yasen ko nihitel ini do le verse 15 the deed be ntahit do otela nta nakhata to as nihita ni ego atano ego de netano siniki anos nakhanta hitno nakhanta hitnesh kisgot eya nakha tadil tkes okoko enta nihita nihit ke nakhata tahi nis ado nihisto nihit ke nakha tahi to nes ako keda huit in asa ite neta dit les akondet nein gish dann hit oder dann hit neni gito dann sengo hit ke opis da the nes verse 18 ako ta bezadiki Hamor in the be Shechem stop besyaat akot the net ako besyaat Hala Jacob it set you see what yat hajet ba'achne betakit achot ya Allah ajilne verse 20. I'm reading from Genesis chapter 34 verse 30. Ako Hamor in the hayet Shechem beshakin hal ahiki chetin genizna aj ako hakin hal ado the nepis ba intatust in ko achne di the net ya dat pa bin keya ye keda hat in da yi da is nicht jo kon keya ta bela ne mehne da bet se ke me ga da yi nicht ko mich da astada do le in da nicht stop nicht se ke ba da hiti ne di kote zagot ja nicht keda hat ko Asa itenne tati tlestenne tani tlinigit eyappe atat inigit ekonakha ntahitnol kish verse 23 the bebekashi aro date inigi in the tabelate askot da esh to tan hi tato ha esha akotati nis enhe oder akon hilkeda hat ido ado Hamor in the be Shechem bikin hal ahigi bechet hingi asna ata et inigi askota bet go dotel da betis go the net askopa dahinesh giz kin hal ahigi bechet hingi asna ata it asnata at iniki okot betap ilia. I'll just read two more verses. Verse 25 okot zadot ka is kagot ha tanes keko Simeon in the Levi Jacob be ketdaina bena bedel klish da yit jakot nan in kinhal ahite na ajgot the nehtan linigi as said. One more verse, verse 36. Hamor in the be Shechem del klish ye yiga ko Shechem bagando Dinah yishena khay. It keeps going to verse 31, but we'll time constraint, we'll go to English. Genesis chapter 34. I'm doing this. One of the reasons why I do what I'm doing is I went to a Bible college and we had a conference. And one speaker says, Bible colleges, we would not exist if the churches were doing their job. If churches were educating their congregation, we would cease to exist. I'm all for Bible colleges, but if churches are not doing their job, I'll let you fill in the blank where I'm going with that. So I do this session as a Sunday school, not so much as a sermon. I don't know what the difference is, but so to gain knowledge, to put it in here, I understand the Pharisees, they had a box and they put a rope around it, and Moses says, put your law as frontlets between your eyes. What God meant, what Moses meant was the other side of the skull, okay? Yeah. The Pharisees, they put their boxes outside their skull. Now Dinah, the daughter of Leah, whom she had borne to Jacob, went out to see the daughters of the land. Reading from Genesis chapter 34, verse 1. Parental, I'll call it lapse. I've done it, you've probably done it, but my dad, he wouldn't permit things like this. He wouldn't permit sleepovers. But he's put us in boarding school still. Boarding school, it was like survival of the fittest. You had to fight to stay alive, pretty much. And Jacob, after his triumphal faith, he saw angels ascending and descending. He still let his daughter fall in the gap. She fell through the cracks. Somehow she made that decision, I'm going to go see the daughters of the land. Hódeeyáadaa. And when that happens, Dinah is probably 13, 14, 15. From our culture, we're going to say she's a young girl, she's still a baby, but the culture of that time was different. And it's given me a headache to go that far, right? And it should give you a headache too. Would you permit your daughter of that age to do what she's doing? Oh, there you go. But back then she was marriageable age, but still you wouldn't let her roam off by herself. And when Shechem, the son of Hamor, the Hivite, prince of the country, saw her, he took her and lay with her and violated her. I looked at some Bible commentaries and they said, it seems like what's happening here is he did not forcibly rape her, but I would disagree, but Hamor or Shechem overwhelmed her with I don't know what, his dress, his crown, his position, and she was tempted to so she was, some of the Bible scholars, I don't know how to connect the dots, but they said she willingly went. Of course she did, but anyway, and violated her. His soul was strongly attracted to Dinah, the daughter of Jacob, and he loved the young woman and spoke kindly to the young women. Shechem, let me see if I can see through his eyes. As a young man, I see a lady that's not Navajo, and automatically my attention is there. Hódeeyáadaa says in Shechem's eyes, she was different. These people behaved differently than what the culture was.
Sorry.
He loved the young women and spoke kindly to the young women. So Shechem spoke to his father Hamor, saying, Get me this young woman as a wife. I could go a lot in my own family, but I'm not going to go there because I know my brothers are listening online and my in-laws are listening online, so I'll leave it alone. And Jacob heard that he had defiled Dinah, his daughter. Now his sons were with his livestock in the field. So Jacob held his peace until they came. Jacob wrestled with God and prevailed, but now it seemed like his position, maybe his sons are coming of age in their 20s, maybe right about the cutoff age, and they're voicing their opinions, they're asserting their position, and if you're a father, you know what it's like. You have to I think that something like that is going on here. Jacob held his peace until they came. I don't know what to say about that. Then Hamor, the father of Shechem, went out to Jacob to speak with him. And the sons of Jacob came in from the field when they heard it, and the men were grieved and very angry because he had done a disgraceful thing in Israel by lying with Jacob's daughter, a thing which ought not to be done. Moses is writing, I don't know how long after the events he's writing. By now, Jacob, his name was Israel, but here the understanding was Israel is not just the name of an individual, now it is the name of a community. So Moses is writing with that in mind, and he's writing to 20-something people in their early 20s, all the older ones that actually had come, they had gone out of Egypt, they had died off. So the Exodus generation, the later Exodus generation, or people that were born in the desert and they saw nothing of what happened in Egypt, they're the audience of this what's going on. So they're going by the nation of Israel. Hódeeyáadaa. And the sons of Jacob, verse 7, came in from the field when they heard it, and the men were grieved and very angry because he had done a disgraceful thing in Israel by lying with Jacob's daughter, a thing which ought not to be done. Once this chapter is over, I think we're not going to hear of Dinah again. I don't know what happened to her. If this thing did not happen, would she have been founder of her own tribe? I have no idea. Or did she not have any more kids? I don't know. But Hamor spoke to them, saying, the soul of my son Shechem longs for your daughter. Please give her to him as wife. As I mentioned before, in biblical ethics, there's 4 positions. The first position is you can do the right thing for the right reason. That's called virtue. The second position is you can do the wrong thing for the wrong reason. That is called sin. That leaves 2 other positions. You can do the right thing for the wrong reason. That's called hypocrisy. And that leaves the 4th position. You can do, which one? I'm kind of confused. You can do the wrong thing for the right reasons. I forget what that was called. I'll just call it stupidity. So we're gonna each and every chapter we're gonna see these things, and you're gonna, in our culture or any culture for that matter, the heroes in that culture, they can do no wrong, right? They're heroes. We hold them up here. Except for the nation of Israel, they're heroes. There's the good, the bad, and the ugly. It seems like they paint them in true color, and all the warts and everything. Okay. Other cultures like Greek culture, Achilles, people of that, they put them up here. But except for God's people, we know the warts, everything. That being said, then Shechem said to her father and her brothers, let me find favor in your eyes, and whatever you say to me, I will give. Verse 11. It sounds like Shechem has more virtue. They're painting it as more virtuous than Israel, the nation of Israel. Verse 12. Ask me ever so much dowry and I will give according to what you say to me, but give me the young women as a wife. Once again, I really don't know what a dowry is. I'm thinking it's things that are given that were for the women's benefit. So there's that was her social security. If something happened to the man, she's taken care of. I think, is it true? Anybody care to comment on that?
I think the dowry is what the woman's family gets as payment for giving her to them.
That's
whether
what
it be sheep or cow or money.
in our culture it's like that. Navajo culture, or it used to be like that. Now I don't think so much. A cow is given to the bride's family, not to her.
Right.
But I think in the ancient Near Eastern culture, it went to her. I think, I could be wrong, as a form of social security in case the man dies or he divorces her, she's taken care of, I think. Once again, I could be wrong. I'm not knowledgeable in that field, so. Like Laban, it seemed like whatever that money was going to Rachel and Leah, or Leah and Rachel, he seemed to have kept it for himself. But later on, Rachel and Leah and Rachel says, what was coming to us, our father has kept. So, verse 13, but the sons of Jacob answered Shechem and Hamor, his father, and spoke deceitfully because he had defiled Dinah, their sister. This thing about the covenant cutting ceremony back in the ancient Near East, or the Hebrew people, starting with Abraham, they practiced circumcision. In the Old Testament, that was a sign of the covenant between God and man, that we belong to God. But I understand also that there are other cultures that practice the same thing. Can it be used for wrong? And in the New Testament, I believe that we're continuing that practice, not as circumcision, but as baptism. So, in our day and age, we're living in the New Testament, the New Covenant. Is it possible to use baptism for ill intent? I don't know. Could it be possible? When Daryl, I'm not going to put a bad light on the other person that got baptized the same day you did. I don't know where that other person went. You're here. The other person, I wish he would come. Can you do your baptism for ill intent? I don't know. I'll let you figure that out. And once you figure it out, let me know. That's what we're going to see here. So the Jacob's sons, they had ill intent already. In any investigation, they say, what's the motive? What's the, and they say, follow the money too, right? So let's do that. They spoke deceitfully because he had defiled Dinah, their sister. It sounds like they're not too worried about the sister, they're more worried about themselves. And they said to them, we cannot do this thing to give our sister to one who is uncircumcised, for that would be a reproach to us. But on this condition, we will consent to you if you will become as we are, if every male of you is circumcised. The firstborn is Reuben. By all rights, if Jacob dies, he's going to receive a big portion of the inheritance. Remember, there's 11 other brothers. Men, there's 10 other brothers at this point. What are they going to get? They're going to have to divide the rest of what's there, right? Okay, so Reuben gets this much. These guys are going to get this much. That seems to be what's going on. we were talking about Social Security cuts. And the gears are grinding, the clutch is smoking here, and they're thinking. So it seems to me that's what's going on. Verse 15, but on this condition we will consent to you if you will become as we are, if every male of you is circumcised. Jacob, for some reason, has no say here. I don't know what's going on, but it seems like the brothers, they're making the decisions, particularly two of them. Dinah's full brothers. But on this condition we will consent to you if you will become as we are, if every male of you is circumcised. Then we will give our daughters to you, and we will take your daughters to us. Oh, we will take your daughters to us, and we will dwell with you, and we will become one people. But if not, you will not heed us and be circumcised, then we will take our daughter and be gone. These are the brothers saying, we're going to take our daughter. And it seems to be not Jacob saying, I'm going to take my daughter and go home. And the words pleased Hamor and Shechem, Hamor's sons. So the young man did not delay to do the thing because he delighted in Jacob's daughter. He was more honorable than all the household of his father. And Hamor and Shechem his son came to the gate of their city and spoke to the men of their city, saying, evidently, back then in the ancient Near Eastern culture, business was conducted at the gate where people come in, they come out, and when the gate is open, everything's open. We can conduct business. Once the gates are closed, we cannot conduct any more business. It seems to be what's going on here. Verse 21, these men are at peace with us. They're not saying Jacob is at peace with us. He said, these men are at peace with us. Therefore, let them dwell in the land and trade in it. For indeed, the land is large enough for them. Let us take their daughters to us as wives, and let us give them our daughters. I remember in my own lifetime, I grew up in the Navajo Hopi land dispute. And the elders of that time were mad. They were talking, and they said, let's just intermarry with the Hopis. And we wipe them out like that. That's exactly what I remember as a child hearing that. Something like that is going on. Only on this condition will the men consent to dwell with us, to be one people, if every male among us is circumcised as they are circumcised. Like I said, Abraham and his descendants weren't the only ones that practiced circumcision. I understand the Egyptians were practicing circumcision to a certain degree in other cultures. So when asked of them to do circumcision, to them it seemed like, oh, it's just a small matter. Is that all? Kind of thing. So they got, verse 23, will not their livestock, their property, and every animal of theirs be ours? Only let us consent to them, and they will dwell with us. Jacob's sons, it seemed like they were desiring of the land, and they were desiring of the animals, the livestock, and the women, and the kids. And Hamor's camp, Shechem's camp, seems to be doing the same thing. And all who went out of the gate of his city heeded Hamor and Shechem his son. Every male was circumcised. all who went out of the gate of his city. Now it came to pass on the third day that they were in pain, that two of the sons of Jacob, namely Dinah's full brother Simeon and Levi, they were both full brothers to Dinah. The other brothers could, I don't know, care less, or they still cared, but they didn't care as much as these two. Somebody in the medical field could probably answer this more, better. Circumcision, I won't go into it.
Thank you.
Ask your mother. What it is.
Ask your neighbor.
But back then, we go to the hospital today, and there's antibiotics, antiseptic, and what's that thing they call it to numb the pain?
Oh.
How's that thing called?
Like a tooth pain?
Oh, any pain. What do they give
Oh,
you?
man.
Something to manage your pain and manage your infection. What else? Like, they didn't have bandages as we know it, and
Funny gas?
sorry.
Kind of a funny gas and just.
Oh, that laughing gas thing, or anyway. Back then they didn't have that. They just put you in the dirt and whatever.
They get those big knives, so.
The knife, they're not
It's
sanitized.
gonna be a long one. It's
I
gonna
don't
be
know
one
what
like
they
this.
use. Okay, I'll
Could be
just leave
right.
that to your imagination. But infection apparently comes in. And it says the third day, and how painful an infection is. And I think 3 weeks ago, I had a tooth pain. One of my fillings came out and got reinfected, and I had to go to dental twice. And, felt like I was a chipmunk for a while. But anyway, you're useless. The only thing that is constant is your pain, right?
Right.
And Simeon and Levi, Dinah's brothers, each took his sword and came boldly upon the city and killed all the males. The word for sword here, I understand, is cherub. This is a powerful allusion back to the Garden of Eden, where God chased Adam and Eve out, and he placed cherub beams at the entrance to the Garden of Eden. Cherub, sword, cherub, beams with a sword. Eim means plural. How plural is the angel plural, or is the sword plural? Double-edged sword. I'll leave that up to you. Some of the Bible scholars that I looked at, an unknown sized city. How many people live in this city? And could two people do that? Or did they have assistance? Because these brothers, they had access to servants, and they had access to other brothers. So some Bible scholars are saying they might have had some help. I don't know. I'll leave that up to you. And they kill Hamor and the crown prince, Shechem. That's not written there. I just thought I'd put that in there.
Okay.
His son with the edge of the sword, the cherub, and took Dinah from Shechem's house and went out. Dinah apparently stayed there. How an indefinite amount of time, how long, I have no idea. The sons of Jacob came upon the slain and plundered the city because their sister had been defiled. Apparently, the other brothers came and plundered the city. They took their sheep, their oxen, and their donkeys, what was in the city and what was in the field. And all their wealth, all their little ones and their wives they took captive, and they plundered even all that was in the houses. I'm still having a problem coming up with a title for this section. Could you use virtue to sin? I don't know. That seems to be my mind is going in that direction. You look like you're doing something righteous, but you could sin. Then Jacob said to Simeon and Levi, "You have troubled me by making me obnoxious among the inhabitants of the land, among the Canaanites and the Perizzites. And since I am few in number, they will gather themselves together against me and kill me. I shall be destroyed, my household and I." Jacob went to the high points of faith where he says, "I'm not going to let you go till you bless me." He wrestled with the angel of the Lord. All now is like he's at the lowest point. And he's looking at numbers. There's so few of us, and there's so many of them. And when you look at numbers, I'm gonna take an illustration from the life of David. He set his mind on a census. And because he relied on numbers, God sent a plague and he wiped out pretty much his whole army. In our lifetime, and not too few years ago, we had a census, right? The year 2020. What happened after that? Anybody? What happened after 2020? COVID.
COVID.
Something. There's a parallel right there. And when we look at numbers, God could reduce us back to where we depend on Him alone. And they said, should he treat our sister like a harlot? In the ancient Near Eastern culture, the father's voice is loud and final. Kadeya, they're like in balance, and they could talk back to their father. Something is, instead of being right side up, it's like the neck at your end. Something like that is going on here. There's like something should have been right side up, now it's upside down. And that's going to lead us to the next chapter. Any comments, questions? Yes, Daryl. How many points did you get?
I've got a few.
Okay.
I've got a few.
You got any bullet points?
You know, the title, what you were talking about.
Help me out.
I think this chapter is a story of caution. Because there's a lot of things that are happening here.
Yep.
Just to start off with, you touched on Dinah. Understanding what does that look like? You know, danger of cultural drifting for us.
Exactly.
Do we understand that?
Mm-hmm.
You know, the word tells us to be in the world, but not of it.
Exactly.
And I think that's what was happening. That's where that came about. Then there's the warning of danger of being passive. Jacob's silence after Dinah's trauma. It warns against leaders who fail to protect or speak for the vulnerable. As a leader, even as a leader in a work environment, you're as a manager, as a director, you're tasked to speak up for those under you. In the church, as a leader, you're tasked to speak up for those that are in your congregation. You see things, you know, you understand things, you hear things that are happening. This couple is struggling right here. Should we step in? Should we help them? Or do we just watch and let it fall apart? That's being passive. When that happens, we risk that couple falling away from the Lord, falling away from the church. When we could have said something or done something ahead of it. And I think that's one of the things that it tells us. If you're a leader in a position, revenge versus justice. Brothers in that mass slaughter of the Shechemites showed that their anger was unchecked. And it created a cycle of violence. In Romans 12:19, it tells us to leave room for God's wrath, not our own. And then human disparity and grace. Founding fathers of Israel at their worst, the story highlights God's people are deeply flawed and in desperate need of a savior, which is where all of this is going. It's going towards the savior, understanding that all of these things were happening. God who's omniscient, omnipotent, omnipresent, sees everything and still allowed things to happen so that we could see what we need to see. So that we can see where there's a need for our Savior. So I think that's the big takeaway, is understanding, this whole story here points out little events that we can isolate and say, don't do this. That big one of revenge or the sin of deception, weaponizing religion. We still do it. It happens all the time. People use it to validate, claiming God said this. You stay over there. They manipulate it, twisting the words, saying this is what it means. This is how I understand it. And they use it and they isolate people. They push people away. They make themselves, give themselves a reason to act in this negative way towards people. But it's about service. Weaponized religion is about control.
Money too. Money.
Yeah. So those are the points that I got.
Thank you. Anybody else? Comments, insights, answers, questions?
I got a point.
Go ahead, Amber.
It would seem like a public cover-up,
Public cover-up.
Yeah, everybody knows that he defiled her, but then he's like, give me her as a wife, like it makes it okay.
Interesting. Maybe he had already other wives. I don't know. The only time that it's like a public cover-up.
Yeah.
Maybe I'll put that as my title, public cover-up. Go ahead, Howard.
Yeah, it sounds like what they're talking about here is there are different covenants.
Mm-hmm.
Each nation, each people have different covenants. And about 3 sermons ago, we got talking about some things in the Old Testament, and it's mentioned Psalms 1. Remember,
Mm-hmm.
blessed is the man, or mankind, including women.
Mm-hmm.
Blessed is the man. So there are others. So there's a God's covenant. God is a God covenant keeping God.
Mm-hmm.
You keep God's covenant, blessed is the man or woman who keeps that covenant.
Mm-hmm.
There are other covenants.
It seems like, the circumcision thing, you're doing the right thing, but at the end, you're like, take a little U-turn or.
Kind of like what is truth and what is not truth.
Uh-huh. Thank you.
True covenants or not true covenants.
Mm-hmm.
God is a God keeping covenant.
So, we in the New Testament are continuing the circumcision only in the form of baptism. Could you be able to ruin your baptism and use it for vice? Part of me wants to say yes, but I can't back it up. I can't, not at this point. Thank you, for your kind attention and your attendance, and next Sunday we'll package some more. Thank you.